Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Look, if you're a safety professional gearing up for your next big role, you already know that the interview is definitely not just some casual chat. It's a high-stakes evaluation. So today, we're taking 10 of the absolute most common health, safety, and environment interview questions and transforming them into a complete strategic masterclass. We're going to break down exactly what hiring managers are actually looking for, using a structured approach that goes way, way beyond just rote memorization. Okay, let's jump right into the agenda. We're moving through 6 key phases today: acing the safety interview, your background in first week, core safety frameworks, risk assessments, crises and dilemmas, and lastly, securing your career. Let's get right into it. Part 1, acing the safety interview. It is so much more than a list of questions. Think about it. The high-stakes nature of an HSD interview is completely unique. Unlike a lot of other corporate roles, you aren't just there to protect the bottom line. At the end of the day, the core intent behind every single question boils down to this one simple thing: proving you can protect human lives. You really have to demonstrate both the technical expertise and the moral fortitude to keep people out of harm's way every single day. Moving on to part 2, your background in first week. We are setting the baseline here. So when they hit you with the classic "tell me about yourself" question, whatever you do, please do not ramble. You need to keep it tight. Notice how this specific candidate succinctly maps out their timeline. They start in 2008, move into their civil engineering degree and HSC master's, highlight some solid project experience with buildings and bridges, and cap it off with their last 3 years as a safety manager. This clean, chronological progression proves your foundational competence instantly, without getting bogged down in your whole life story. And then, inevitably, comes the question: what would you do your first week? You absolutely need a proactive plan that shows you're hitting the ground running. Tell them you're going to conduct thorough facility inspections, you're going to meet the managers and the personnel right out on the floor, you'll examine safety records looking for actionable trends, and rigorously read through the HSC manual. Basically, this proves you're actively seeking out patterns and building relationships, rather than just hiding behind a desk filling out forms. All right, part 3, mastering core safety frameworks. These are the actual systems that prevent harm. When you're asked to define a health and safety management system, you want a crisp, definitive answer ready to fire off. It's simply a series of policies and procedures organizations use to reduce accidents and illnesses among employees. Giving a clear, no-nonsense definition like this shows the interviewer that you truly understand safety is a highly organized framework. It's not just about quick reflexes on the floor. Now, here's a real pro tip. If you can drop a quote from a major, respected authority like OSHA, it's a total game changer. Providing a verbatim statement during your interview anchors your answer in undeniable industry truth. It just proves your personal strategy perfectly aligns with top-tier institutional knowledge. Next up, the hierarchy of hazard controls. You're almost certainly going to get asked about this. When you answer, visually click down through this escalating defense system in your mind. Number 1 is elimination, physically removing the hazard, like moving high-altitude work down to the ground. Number 2 is substitution, replacing the hazardous element entirely. 3 is engineering controls, like installing physical guardrails. 4, administrative controls, which means procedure changes or training. And finally, number 5, personal protective equipment, or PPE. You've got to make it explicitly clear that PPE, stuff like boots and helmets, is actually the least effective measure. It is the absolute last line of defense when the other 4 layers have totally failed. Which brings us to part 4, the anatomy of risk assessments, proactive hazard management. If they ask you why risk assessments are so important, you need a full arsenal of reasons ready to go. Explain that they create widespread hazard awareness across the team. They pinpoint exactly who is at risk, whether that's employees, contractors, or even the public. They determine what control programs are required, they prevent injuries right at the design stage, and, crucially, they keep the organization legally compliant. This is exactly how you systematically prioritize hazards. But how do you actually execute one in the real world? Well, walk them through the step-by-step process a competent team has to follow. Step 1, identify the hazards. Step 2, determine the likelihood and the severity of harm. Step 3, identify necessary actions using that exact control hierarchy we just talked about. Step 4, evaluate to confirm the hazard is actually controlled. Step 5, rigorously monitor the effectiveness of those controls over time. And finally, Step 6, keep incredibly diligent records. Walking through this proves you aren't just guessing, you are highly methodical. Okay, part 5, crises and ethical dilemmas. This is really the crucible of the interview. You will absolutely hear some variation of this. Tell me about the biggest challenge of your last job. Take note here, because this classic behavioral question is secretly a major test of your persuasion and conflict resolution skills. Hiring managers don't just want a story about a tough Tuesday, they want to see exactly how you change human behavior. Let's look at a real-world scenario. Say a head of maintenance tries to bypass a critical procedure for a confined space. His excuse? He claims he just, quote-unquote, has no time to fill out papers. A line I am sure we've all heard a million times. But instead of just aggressively pointing at the rulebook, the smart safety pro pulls up news articles showing devastating real-world confined space accidents. Confronted with that reality, the manager immediately understands the why. This perfectly proves that you can conquer resistance through empathy and education, not just policing. Then they'll hit you with the high-stress crisis question. What would you do if someone called right now and said there had been a serious accident at our facility? This is specifically designed to see if you panic, or if you instantly default to your operational training. Your answer here needs to be a perfect model of a calm, structured, rapid response. First, tell them your initial step actually happens way before the accident. You familiarize yourself with the company's emergency procedures ahead of time so your response aligns with policy on day one. Second, upon actually getting the call, determine the immediate first response needed to treat the injured and stabilize the situation. And third, immediately identify and notify the necessary third parties, getting the ambulance or fire brigade rolling without a single second of delay. Break it down step by step like that to prove you can manage absolute chaos. All right, now for the ultimate ethical trap. What would you do if a plant manager asked you to just ignore a safety violation? This is directly testing your personal integrity against the heavy weight of management pressure. This scenario requires a really nuanced approach. You have to evaluate the severity first. If it's just a minor technical violation that's unlikely to result in injury, you show some operational flexibility. Give them a fair 48-hour warning to fix it, reinspect, and then take action if they ignore it. But a major hazard, you flatly refuse to ignore it. It shows you have an absolute iron wall when it comes to true danger, but you also aren't going to halt an entire manufacturing plant over a trivial technicality. Finally, Part 6, Securing Your Safety Career. Let's talk about the administrative glue. They are definitely going to ask, how do you handle record keeping? And yeah, I know paperwork isn't exactly thrilling, but you must stress that immediate, hyper-accurate records are your ultimate defensive shield. Proper logs protect both the company and the employees by legally proving that necessary training was actually provided. Plus, an immediate report captures the accurate details while they're still fresh, because, as any seasoned pro knows, people's stories have a really funny habit of changing after the fact. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to ask yourself this one final provocative question. Are you just preparing for an interview, or are you preparing to save a life? Understanding the deep intent behind these questions is really all about proving you are fully ready to be the ultimate guardian of your workplace. Lean into these frameworks, stand firm by your ethics, and never, ever forget the real weight of the incredible work you do.